I never wanted the house. I wanted the truth. When my Aunt Alara died, everyone assumed the narrow brick townhouse on Alder Street would go to my cousin Bram. He'd lived there helping her for the last 2 years. He told neighbors he was practically her son. At the funeral, he cried loud enough for strangers to notice. I didn't cry at all, and that somehow made me suspicious. A week later, a courier knocked on my door and handed me a thin envelope. Inside was a photocopy of a deed and a sticky note in Alara's sharp handwriting. If anything feels wrong, it probably is. The deed listed me, not Bram, as the sole owner. When I showed Bram, his face barely changed. He smiled, slow and calm. That's an old draft, he said. She changed it. I have the real one. He produced a notarized document that looked perfect. Signature, stamp, date, 2 months before her death. Everyone believed him. Even the lawyer I called said, on paper, your cousin is right. On paper. But Alara had taught me one thing when I was a kid: documents lie better than people. I asked to walk through the house one last time for closure. Bram agreed, already measuring the walls with his eyes. He talked about renovations, about selling. He didn't notice me opening drawers he thought he knew. In the study, behind a shelf of outdated atlases, I found a locked metal box. The key was taped underneath the desk. Alara was never subtle when she wanted to be found. Inside were utility bills, bank statements, and a small blue notebook. On the last page, written shakily, was a list of dates and amounts. Next to each amount, Bram. Below that, one sentence. He forged it, notarized on a day I was hospitalized. My hands went cold. The notebook included a hospital bracelet stapled to the page. The date matched the notarization on Bram's deed. I took photos of everything. When I confronted him, he laughed. You think a notebook beats a notarized document? No, I said, but a notary's time-stamped log does. He froze. Turns out, Alara had suspected him early. She filed a quiet complaint with the Notary Association, just in case. The notary who stamped Bram's deed had logged his signature at 3:12 p.m. from his office across town. Alara was in a cardiac ward at 3:12 p.m. There were cameras. Visitors logged. Nurses on record. In court, Bram didn't cry. He stared at the table while the judge read the findings: fraud, abuse of power of attorney, attempted property theft. The deed was voided. The house was legally mine. Afterward, outside the courthouse, Bram finally looked at me. You planned this, he said. I shook my head. She did. I kept the house, but not for long. I sold it and used the money to fund legal aid for elderly people because Alara believed injustice survives on silence. And every time I pass Alder Street, I think of her note. If anything feels wrong, it probably is